Nyarlothotep, the crawling chaos. I am the last. I will tell.
Make them remember, Jason.
I do not recall
Make them
distinctly when
suffer.
it began, but it was months ago. The general tension was horrible. To a season of political and social upheaval was added a strange and brooding apprehension of hideous physical danger. A danger widespread and all-embracing. Such a danger as may be imagined only in the most terrible phantasms of the night. I recall that the people went about with pale and worried faces and whispered warnings and prophecies which no one dared consciously repeat or acknowledge to himself that he had heard. A sense of the monstrous guilt was common, and out of the abysses between the stars crept chill currents that made men shiver in dark and lonely places. There was a demonic alteration in the sequence of the seasons. The autumn heat lingered fearsomely, and everyone felt that the world, and perhaps the universe, had passed from the control of known gods or forces which were unknown. And it was then that Nyarlathotep came out of Egypt. Who he was found the old native blood and looked
Don't
like a
stop,
pharaoh.
Jason.
The
They
Fellahim
deserve to
knelt
die.
when they saw him.
Make them suffer
Did
like
not say
we
why.
did.
He said he had risen up out of the blackness of 27 centuries, and that he had heard messages from places not on this planet.
From me, Jason.
Into the lands
Don't
of
let them.
civilization came Nyarlathotep, swarthy, slender, and sinister, always buying strange instruments of glass and metal and combining them into instruments yet stranger. He spoke much of the sciences, of electricity and psychology, and gave exhibitions of power to send his spectators away speechless. The swelled his fame to exceeding magnitude. Men advised one another to see Nyarlathotep.
That's my
I
boy.
shuddered, and where
Hunt them down and
Nyarlathotep
make them
went,
pay.
rest vanished. For the small hours were rent with the screams of nightmare. Never before had the screams of nightmare been such a public problem. Now the wise men almost wished they could forbid sleep in the small hours, that the shrieks and cries might less horribly disturb the pale, pitying moon as it glimmered on green waters, gliding under bridges, and old steeples crumbling against a sickly sky. I remember when Nyarlathotep came to my city, the great friend had his revelations, and I burned with
Don't
eagerness
stop,
to
Jason.
explore his
They
hidden
deserve to
mysteries.
die. Make them
My friends
suffer
said
like
they were
we did.
horrible and impressive beyond my most fevered imaginings. That what was thrown on a screen in the darkened room prophesied things none but Nyarlathotep dared prophesy. And what in the sputter of his sparks there was taken from him, that which never been taken before, yet which shewed only human eyes. And I heard it hinted abroad that those who knew Nyarlathotep looked on sights which others saw not. It was in the hot autumn that I went through the night with the restless crowds to see Nyarlathotep, through the stifling night and up the endless stairs of the church. And shadowed on the screen, I saw hooded forms in mystery, and yellow evil faces peering from behind fallen monuments. And I saw the world battling against blackness. Sparks played amazingly around the heads of the spectators.
That's my boy.
Hair stood up on
Hunt them
end,
down and
shadows
make them
moved as
pay.
I can tell, came out and squatted on the heads. And when I, who was colder and more scientific than the rest, mumbled a trembling protest about imposture and static electricity, Nyarlathotep drave us all out, down the dizzy stairs into the hot, deserted. I screamed aloud that I was not afraid, that I never could be afraid, and others screaming for solace. We swear to one another that this escape was exactly the same and still alive, and when the electric lights began to fade, we cursed the company over and over again, and I laughed at the queer faces we made. I believe we felt something coming down from the greenish moon. From when we began to depend on its light, we drifted into curious involuntary formations and seemed to know our destinations, though we dared not think of them. Once we looked at the pavement, stars along of rusted metal tissue where the tramways had been. And again, we saw a tram car alone, windowless, dilapidated.
Yes.
And
Kill for mother.
When we gazed around the horizon, we could not find the third tower by the river, and noticed that the silhouette of the second tower was right at the top. Then we split up into narrow columns, each of which then disappeared in a narrow alley to the left, leaving only the echo of a shop. Another filed down a weed-choked subway entrance, howling with a laughter that was mad. My own column was sucked toward the open country, and presently felt a chill which was not the hot autumn, for as we stalked out on the dark moor, we beheld around us the hellish moon glitter of evil snows. Trackless, inexpressible snows, swept asunder in one direction only, where lay a gulf all the blacker for its glittering walls. The column seemed very thin indeed as it plodded dreamily into the gulf. I lingered behind, for the black rift in the green-litten snow was frightful, and I thought I had heard the reverberations of a disquieting wail as my companions vanished, but my power to linger was slight, as if beckoned by those who had gone before. I half floated between the titanic snowdrifts, quivering and afraid, into the sightless vortex of the unimaginable. Screaming sentient, dumbly delirious, only the gods that were can tell. A sickened, sensitive shadow writhing in hands that were not hands, and whirled blindly past ghastly midnights of rotting creation, corpses of dead worlds with sores that were cities, charnel winds that brush the pallid stars and make them flicker low. Beyond the worlds, vague ghosts of monstrous things, half-seen columns of unsanctified temples that rest on nameless rocks beneath the space and reach up to dizzy vacua above the spheres of light and darkness. And through this revolting graveyard of the universe, the muffled, maddening beating of drums and thin, monotonous whine of blasphemous flutes from inconceivable, unlighted chambers beyond time. The detestable pounding and piping were awkwardly and absurdly the gigantic the blind, voiceless, mindless gargoyles whose
They deserve to die, Jason. Make them suffer. Come to mommy, Jason. Come to mommy.